Right. Do you know what's missing from the adventure tourism business in Iceland? It's a sport that everybody loves, but no one's really been doing it here. So I think there are opportunities.
What are you talking about?
Rock climbing.
Yeah.
I don't really know anybody that's doing there, so there could be some untapped potential.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I don't know how I feel about starting a business like that in Iceland, though. I feel like when people think of Iceland and rock climbing, like they think of like hard, sharp, volcanic rock and like rain. I don't know how good that would be. I don't know.
So do you have any other suggestions?
Yeah, actually, you know where I've always wanted to climb? It's so beautiful there, is the Dolomites. It's a mountain range in northeastern Italy. Yeah, it's really stunning. I think we should do it there.
Well, yeah, that's definitely another idea, but I don't know, maybe we could do some research to find out the pros and cons with both places, and we can find out which could offer better opportunities.
Great idea. Let's do that.
Climbing in Iceland is a relatively new activity, beginning to gain popularity in the early 2000s with the opening of a climbing wall at Vector Climbing and Klifurhúsið, the first official climbing gyms in Iceland. The climbing sport is growing fast all over Iceland, with more climbing areas being established every summer. More than 1,000 people are now registered in Klifurfélag Reykjavíkur, and the sport is only going to get more popular over the next few years. There is a lot of potential for good Icelandic guides as the climbing society hosts competitions and a lot of people have become very established climbers. The commercial aspect of climbing in Iceland is fairly new, with only one company, Asgard Beyond, offering climbing tours for tourists. They also offer recreational courses in sports and traditional climbing. There are also a few options of rock climbing courses, both with Klifurhúsið and a company called Bergmenn.
The Dolomites have a wide range of types of climbs and difficulty ratings, from trad climbing, sport climbing, to something called via ferrata. Via ferrata is an Italian word which translates to English as path of iron. It refers to a particularly dangerous and exposed section along a mountain trail where the possibility of falling is very real, so there have been cables set up to clip yourself into. These routes may also include ladders and bridges. Most of this safety is left over from the First World War to assist soldiers traveling and camping in this mountain range. Via ferrata, while still considered climbing, is much less demanding than a typical sport climb, and because of the perceived accessibility, becomes quite popular during Italy's summer months. Geologically speaking, the rock found in the Dolomites is sedimentary limestone. 250 million years ago, during the Triassic period, two tectonic plates, the African and European plates, collided and rose towards the sky, bringing the limestone at the bottom of the ocean upwards to form this mountain range. Limestone tends to be quite solid rock, which is good for climbing.
In Iceland, you have to have a license from the Icelandic Tourist Board to operate any kind of tours. If you're only doing single-day tours, it's enough to have a day tour provider license, which costs 20,000. For a multi-day tour, you need a license as a travel agent, which costs 30,000. Both of these are pretty straightforward to acquire, with not a lot of high standards. So far, there are no specific regulations specifically about rock climbing. Here you can see the Icelandic website where you can check all of the regulations.
I was unable to find any official government website explaining the regulations to operate and run adventure tours in Italy, but a quote from careertrend.com backed up by other articles says, "Contact the national or local tourist board for the province in which you wish to lead tours. You must pass a rigorous series of exams, both written and oral, in order to become a licensed tour guide in Italy. This is a very difficult process with approximately 1 in 10 applicants passing the examinations. Reading through the website, it seems like this license is more geared towards cultural learning tours, but I am sure in the absence of any other certification for adventure guides, the standard applies to us as well. The highest certification you can get as a rock climbing guide is to be part of an international association of mountain guides, such as the UIAGM or the IFMGA. Reading through their website, it is unclear whether you are able to specialize in a specific discipline as you are able to do in Canada with the ACMG. But in order to ensure highest quality service and safety, we would only hire internationally recognized certified rock/mountain guides. We would also hire assistant guides and offer apprenticeships to applicants with lower level certifications, such as probably a minimum of 40-hour wilderness first aid.
Entry and exit barriers. In Iceland, there's little competition, little regulations, and little access issues. The market is monopolized by Asgard Beyond, and while it would be easy to undercut them on price, they are already established, which will make them hard to compete with. Since Iceland is not very established as a climbing location, a lot of energy and funds needs to go into marketing. Besides that, the biggest entry barrier in rock climbing industry, both in Iceland and the Dolomites, is expensive startup costs such as gear and vehicles. In Italy, the difficult exam required to be a licensed tour guide would also be a large entry barrier. It would be in our best interest to hire locals. However, our plan is to only hire internationally certified mountain guides, and it could be difficult to find only Italians. Exit barriers in rock climbing industry are also large. Gear, although expensive to buy, does not age well due to newer and newer gear constantly coming out. If we wanted to sell our business and exit the industry, we would not have a lot of assets.
How much capital does it take for a startup in the rock climbing industry? Well, the biggest thing that we're going to need is gear. So what is included in gear? Well, we need harnesses, helmets, belay devices, carabiners, ropes, climbing shoes, chalk. On top of that, we need a car, gas for the car. We would need to invest a little bit of money into marketing. And in Iceland, we would need to pay the $20,000 to $30,000 for the operating license. Would we run into any seasonal issues in the Dolomites? Well, from May to September, there is a pretty consistent summer, which is the largest on season. It would still be possible to run tours less frequently in the winter as the climate remains sunny but cold. Rain can still be an issue, but it is far less likely in this region.
So, are there any seasonal issues about climbing in Iceland? Unpredictable weather condition can be a big issue. Summer is the biggest season for outdoor rock climbing, but trips are also possible in spring and fall, but can be victim to changing weather. However, many rock climbing areas turn into ice climbing areas in winter, so the opportunity for year-round employment is there.
Okay, so what about market structure in Iceland versus the Dolomites in Italy? Well, in Iceland, as we've already kind of discussed, there is a monopolized market from Asgard Beyond. Now, a monopoly is where one company is the only one offering a given product. They have complete control over the market standards, price, and clients. However, the product Asgard Beyond is offering in Iceland isn't exactly unique. Because the sport in Iceland is still in very early days, they are just the only ones doing it so far. In the Dolomites, the market structure is a lot more like an oligopoly. An oligopoly is where just a few companies have their feet in the market. These companies have considerable control over the price. All of the products they are offering are quite similar, and they are in competition for both price and unique experience. It is difficult to enter a market like this because of increased competition, and all the companies have already established clients and trips. Strengths. Paradise for rock climbers, big destination, it wouldn't be too hard to sell, and there is beautiful weather most of the year.
Strengths. There are many really good climbing areas all over Iceland, each with unique natural surroundings. Only one company in Iceland offers rock climbing tours.
Weaknesses. There's a lot of competition there, and it would be hard to do something different. Penetration pricing would be possible to gain a little bit of clients, but then we would have to distinguish ourselves as better quickly.
Weaknesses. Needs a lot of marketing. Rock climbing in Iceland is not really on the radar yet. It's also hard to compete with a company that's already established. Also, the climbing season in Iceland can be quite short.
Opportunities. Advertising has huge potential to be done better.
Opportunities. Rock climbing is fairly new in Iceland, so it's still a very open market for new companies. Asgard Beyond only offers one overnight rock climbing tour. There's an opportunity to create a multi-day tour with aspects other than rock climbing, like hot springs and hikes, a museum or historical touring.
Threats. Might be really hard to get clients with so much competition. We could invest the capital to begin the company and not ever sell enough tours to become profitable. Our safest option would be to run another type of tour with less upfront investment costs, such as trekking. That would give us a higher chance of making a slight return on our investment.
Threats. There's little regulation on the industry, and that could become a problem if it's not done properly. In conclusion, our best chance of starting a business in either location requires a few things. Number 1, a good advertising campaign. This is really needed in Iceland to raise attention to the sport, and also needed in Italy to capture people's attention ahead of our competition. Number 2, offer a higher quality experience than other companies. This would be easy to do in Iceland. We just have to create a more comprehensive trip than Asgard Beyond. It could be a multi-day, including geothermal hot springs, local places to eat and sightseeing. It would be harder to do in Italy without the local knowledge. And because the environment is so heavily focused on rock climbing, that's kind of all there is to do in that area.
Yeah, and plus, we think it would be too hard to compete with the already established companies in Italy, especially if our guides have to pass a difficult exam from the tourism board. We would have to hire locally, and there's little incentive for guides to come work for us as a startup with little money, as opposed to other companies. If you have the proper license in Iceland and the rock climbing skill, it would be easy to start small, perhaps with an Airbnb experience, and then slowly grow our connections and our capital until we felt secure enough to begin our own company. We also believe that once we were able to offer our own tour, it would be a lot easier to distinguish ourselves from the competition.
Yeah!
Hell yeah!